projects over the years and are thrilled to be working with the town again. The safety lanes or bike lanes or walking path is not a new thought to the town. We've actually been working on this in one form or another off and on since 2012, starting with Tom Morgan. And over those years, we've looked at a lot of different alternatives and things to improve pedestrian and bike safety through the town. And so I think where we are now is that we've come up with a corridor from Arboretum all the way down to Shattuck, the Nimble Hill Road corridor, to develop a safety lane side path scenario. And what we've done to this point is we've had Dave Hislop survey the right-of-way, provide topographic survey information for this corridor. We've had Mark West, who does a lot of consulting for the town, map the wetlands, and those wetland areas were identified on the survey plan. So we developed a very good and strong base plan information. So from there, we've developed some concept plans. We've met with the committee. We've met with the library trustees. We've met with the historic committee. And so we've worked through a lot of different scenarios along the way, but these are still preliminary plans that need to be vetted through the funding process with DOT. And what I'd like to do now is share my screen, if I can. Martha, do you have that ability for me to do that?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, well, let me see what I can. That isn't what I wanted to do. I don't know what I just hit. There's viewing options. Exit full screen. Something is, I am not sure what I am doing wrong today.
Thanks for bearing with us, folks. Just one minute.
We see your desktop, just not
You
your
do?
screen. Yeah,
Okay,
we see your
so
desktop, but not your screen.
I got to hit something else.
Yeah.
Side by side. Yeah, I see that I got my desktop up. Ah, there we go. I think I'm getting closer. I don't know what there's share screen. You cannot share screen while the other is participating.
Eric, that means.
Oh, you know what I am? I am viewing Martha Roy's screen. It's not my screen.
I think in order for you to share your screen, Martha Roy needs to make you a co-host.
Okay.
And she can do that in her settings.
So that's whose screen you're all looking at, is Martha's.
Okay.
Is it there?
There we go. How's this, Eric? Can you share your screen? Or is everyone still seeing my screen?
Now we're back to the speaker gallery.
15 people.
Okay. Let me. How's that?
Great. Oh,
Yep, we can see.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for bearing with me. So this is a PDF of the rendering that we developed, and it's in 2 sheets, and I'm just trying to do it a little bit blown up so that it's easier for everyone to see. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And what we're starting is on Arboretum. This is where the town garage is and the old town hall. And so we're going to start at that end, and I'm going to zoom up so that you're not going to see a lot of the stuff around you, but it'll help you understand what we're proposing as we go through the project. So again, here I am at Arboretum. Here's the driveway into the town garage. And what we're proposing is a side path, 6 foot wide paved side path, starting at Arboretum and running towards town. And so I'm just going to kind of scroll through. We're going past Old Town Hall here. We're on the side, we're on the, I'll call it the cemetery side of the road. And we vary in distance away from the road, but in general, we're 16 feet in this area. We're almost 12 feet away from the roadway in the other area. As we come up towards the memorial, we're about 13 feet off the edge of the existing pavement. And at this point, we haven't gone back and redesigned anything, but there was some discussion on reworking the area in front of the library. But at that point, we stayed away from that existing rain garden and diverted onto the library property just a little bit, and then worked our way towards Little Bay Road. And in this area, we cut back to avoid the trees along the cemetery, that we're at that point about a little over 11.5 feet down to 9.3 feet off the existing pavement. So it creates a nice welcoming feeling in that area. At Little Bay Road, we still stay as a side path, and we develop a crosswalk at the end, a new stop sign, push back and go across the island, and then create a landing safe area with a flashing pedestrian crossing assembly. And that allows someone who wants to cross the road in that area to press a button, the lights flash in both directions, allows someone to safely cross the roadway there. At that point, we become the safety lanes or side paths or roadway shoulder widening, depending on your technical term on how you want to describe that. And what we're doing is we're creating a consistent roadway width. The roadway varies, pavement width varies now. Right in this location near the Frink Farm, the existing pavement is 24.4 feet wide. We're going to be widening the roadway out throughout the corridor to pavement to 28 feet. There'll be 11 feet of travel lane for vehicle, and then a 3-foot safety lane shoulder paved on each side. And then there's a gravel shoulder on the side of that. So as we continue, we have our widening areas. You can see that in this brown area. We have signs ahead warning people, drivers, that there's a crossing. And then we continue, we have a new crossing area at the end of Old Post Road. We continue with the narrow widening along the corridor, heading towards Lydia Lane. There'll be some, relocation of mailboxes and signs and so forth along this corridor. And then as we're approaching Town Hall, we maintain that area, that widening. Then in front of Town Hall, to get away from the 4-way intersection, to get away from the slopes on the other side of Fox Point Road, we divert across the street. We have another flashing activated sign for the crosswalk in this area. And then we go a side path in front of Town Hall. And now I'm going to jump to the other sheet. And so this is in a slightly different orientation to allow it to continue on a single plan, but this is, again, the intersection of Fox Point Road, Nimble Hill Road. We're now in front of the fire station, and we're having a crosswalk, a fairly long one on Fox Point, where it crosses the one of the entrances to the fire station. And then we have another crossing at the other entrance to the fire station. And again, this is set back away from the pavement. And we're gonna have some flashing lights in that location as suggested by the fire department to allow us to, or allow them to hit a button so that if they're coming out of the station, that no one will cross in that location. We come down the hill and we stay off the school property and continue a side path to the school driveway. We have a crosswalk across the driveway of the school, and then we have another crossing sign, activated crossing assembly, to allow people coming from the Shattuck Way area where that will be a side path. We still have some room in this area before we get to the wetlands. So on the direction going toward Shattuck, we maintain a side path for a little bit further, and then we get close to the wetland system, and then we maintain a back to that safety lane where there's 28 feet of pavement. We continue in that manner through that entire corridor, past Coleman Drive, which is shown right here. Continuing all the way up through the corridor. And as we approach the bridge, we go behind the guardrail system. The bridge extends out with its head wall quite a ways. And so we're going to be behind the guardrail. We divert back and on the north side of the road, that's where the sidewalk system starts. And then that is also where there's a shoulder on the eastbound or northbound lane, so that's the end of our project in that location. To summarize, the areas where we're going to be away from the roadway, a side path, it will be 6 feet of paved surface. Areas where it is a safety lane widening, it is going to be 11-foot drive lanes with a 3-foot shoulder walking area in each direction. And I'm pretty sure I've run out of words, and I'm here for the next step, whether you have questions.
Any questions from the group? Jack O'Reilly has a question. Jack?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Good job. The question is, I know phase 1 is up in the historic district, and phase 2 is the rest of the way down to the more populated area, which I'm assuming is because it'd be easier to do that first. My only question is, should something happen where you get maybe a partial grant or you don't get the full funding, to me, the most hazardous area that people try to transit is the phase 2 area, along what you're showing here. It may be a what if scenario, maybe it is, nobody's thought of it. But if you can't fund the whole project, would you do phase 2 before phase 1?
I don't think that any phases have been set in stone. You know, I personally think that and this is just me, and this isn't the committee, this isn't the town, that I would look strongly, if you only could phase, support a portion, I would look at the section closest to the school and fire station where that slope is the most dangerous, and it would, I think, I don't know if the right term, but get the most bang for the buck.
I agree. Thank you.
We also had a question from Chris Ways. Chris?
Hi, Chris Ways, 28 Fox Point Road. My question is, how many feet of this plan, this entire plan, is away from the roadway in form of sidewalk?
I don't have that one off the top of my head. I could do a measurement.
I would appreciate knowing that. This was said to be plowable by using the wings on the town vehicles, and I don't see that possible when you're more than 16 feet off the roadway.
I can, I can clear that up, Chris. The plan is that the wings on the plow trucks will take care of where the road is widened, but where there's a separate path, the selectmen are planning to take care of plowing that via a contractor or the highways department's tractor, one of the two.
Okay, Martha, can I redirect the question to you then? What is the anticipated additional cost of plowing all of that, plus the sidewalk that goes down onto Shattuck Way that's not currently plowed?
I don't think we've got an estimate for that yet, but we'll look into that and get a rough cost for you, Chris, and get back to you in a few days on it. We'll work on it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm looking through the pictures of everyone. Check, Jessica Morgan. Jessica?
Hi, thanks for doing this presentation. There's a couple spots on Nimble Hill where there's a crosswalk across that's crossing Nimble Hill, and I see it's to move to the other side where there's other bike paths. The intersection of Nimble Hill and Fox Point Road, has there been any discussion of having a crosswalk across there? Just because most of the town lives on the other side. I mean, I personally, oh, I'm sorry, Jessica Morgan, 116 Fox Point Road, right past that stop sign where that intersection. But there's a large amount of town traffic, not necessarily out of town traffic, coming through that intersection from Fox Point Road from the other side, as opposed to the dead end side. So I was just wondering if there's any discussion of putting a crosswalk with or without lighting across Nimble Hill on that site.
As a preliminary design, that final location may change. One of our concepts was to actually have that crosswalk at the intersection, and that might be exactly where it ends up, to allow someone to, especially a student, to go down Fox Point Road at a safe crossing location.
Thank you.
Robert Burns. Robert?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Bob Burns, 95 Nimble Hill Road. My piece of property out front is where there's some wetlands, and the road is fairly narrow there. I would assume there's only 3 or 4 feet of shoulder total right now that slides off into what used to be an old pond. So my question would be, how much are you going to have to widen the shoulders down through that section to accommodate the width that you need? And have you taken into consideration there's a very small culvert that runs under Nimble Hill Road, which they already have trouble keeping clean so it doesn't clog. I didn't know if you were going to upgrade that, if you're widening the shoulders and making it a longer, more of a choke point, if you will.
I didn't catch your address. Is this where I'm talking?
95 Nimble?
So right next to Edna Mosier's property?
Correct. Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Keep go right there.
Right
There you go. A little
right
bit. There's the pond with cattails.
Yep. Okay, I got you now. Thank you, Mr. Byrne. We have looked at that area, and the culvert actually extends out of a good distance there. So we're confident that we can get that widening in there to make it work. And we're only looking at a couple feet, not even a couple feet, about 1.5 feet or a foot of widening, and then the shoulder, that we won't impact the wetlands, and we'll stay out of the wetland in that area.
If I could finish, my concern was, as I said, the culvert pipe is, I'm not concerned about the wetlands. It's very steep there, as you can see by your topo lines.
Yep.
And if you extend out, it's I don't know what the slope is right now, but if you extend it out at all, you're going to have to taper and probably extend the culvert pipe on either side to make sure you didn't, you weren't filling over the end. So that was my question. If you're going to extend the pipe, are you going to deal with the small pipe, or?
We're not planning on, blew this up a little larger so you can see it. I got to get back to it.
Right there.
Yeah. So you can see how we're widening there. We're not proposing at all to replace or extend or need to extend that culvert. What I would say is, if you are having a drainage issue, we can work with Lenny and see if that area needs to be cleaned out.
Yeah, thank you. I did speak to him last year, and he was going to try and get the fire department to blow out whatever the blockage was in the pipe. I don't know if that ever happened, but thank you. That was my concern about that pipe right there. As I said, it's a very small culvert, and it drains a big area, and I didn't know if that sloping was going to make it worse.
Thanks, Bob. We'll be in touch about the drainage situation now, just to make sure that's taken care of.
Thank you.
James Belanger. James?
I don't know. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Open your door.
All right. Thank you for putting this together. I just started. I probably missed the first part of your presentation. It sounds like you have some drawings that start from the library going towards the school. Does the safety lane that we apparently are discussing, and did this project, this $140,000, include the whole 9? I see segment 1, segment 2, segment 3 on a mailing. Are we only talking about one of the segments, or does that 140 include the whole thing? It seems like not all the engineering has been done, culvert issues, etc. Are we talking the whole thing, or just one of the sections?
The whole thing.
140,000, Doctor, is the town share. The overall share will be $700,000. We pay 20%.
And I think Chris Ways brought up a very good discussion point, in that this is a widening of the width of the shoulder in some sections, but it's actually its own separate lane. I think the maintenance of that is an issue.
We will research that, and by within a week we'll have some figures and answers to Mr. Ways' questions.
When we solve a problem at work, one of the things we make sure of is that we actually have a problem. Have we had any accidents on the road between the library and where are you going to Coleman Lane, that between pedestrians and vehicles in the last, I don't know, 5, 10, 20, 30 years?
I have heard of 1 or 2 accidents there, and yes. I don't have it documented, but they have it.
Frank Reinhold.
Can we have the police or fire speak to that to tell us how dangerous this in fact is?
Well, we don't have the police here. They have reviewed this and they've been welcome to the committee. And one of our police commissioners serves on the committee. Bill Wright is here, and I know he's been following it all along. So, I mean, I don't mean to put him on the spot, but, you know, this has been, Doctor, this has been going on for well over 18 months. There was a lot of petitions that came to the selectmen before we put the committee together for this. So there's been a lot, and believe me, this is a preliminary. We still have to get approval from the county and from the state of New Hampshire before this is done. This is preliminary. I think it's a very comprehensive, a lot of effort and work has been done by the citizens of Newington and the engineering and the surveying people.
Yep, I think so. A lot of work has been done for sure. I just want to make sure that we are putting our money into a place where it needs to be solved. If we don't have any accidents or very, very few, then it might not make sense to do it. I think safety is very, very important. So we have to define that we have a safety issue. And the question is it a actual bunch of accidents, or is it just someone have a feeling of safety even though there hasn't been any actual accidents? And so that's one of the questions I have. Another question I have is, I don't know when these roads are on the docket to be repaved. And certainly there is a schedule that has been discussed and exists. Is this safety, the vote on the safety lane, going to change when these projects are going to happen or not? Like if you're going to pave the road, would you do it a couple years sooner or a couple years later, depending on if the safety lane passes or doesn't pass?
It all will depend on when the project is approved, the condition of the road, the negotiations with Eversource for the damage reimbursement that we will receive from them. So there are many factors, but there are sections of Nimble Hill Road that are definitely on the docket to be repaved.
Right, but if this thing passes, are we gonna do it sooner than we otherwise would, or are we gonna wait until it naturally needs to be done?
There's potential for us to do it sooner. Anything else, Jamie?
Well, sure. Does this make the road that the vehicles are driving on wider? Like, does the vehicle have a wider road or a narrower road, the person driving?
Excuse me, Eric, you can answer that, but all the roads are laid out to be lanes are 11 foot, right?
Right,
Presently, yeah.
the travel lane will be a uniform width of 11 feet with a 3-foot paved shoulder. Right now it's variable. There's some areas where the travel lane is 12 feet and there's other areas, you know, it varies in between. It's going to become a uniform width. And so the actual paved surface will increase, the travel lane will be uniform.
So there'll be paint denoting where the travel lane is and where the safety lane is in the places where they are not physically separated?
Correct. No different than what you have now along Nimble Hill. There's a paved fog line, the shoulder, and that's only in places 6 inches off the edge of pavement. So what we're doing is we're going to take that fog line, make it a uniform width off the center line, and then add to make it a uniform pavement width.
So as someone is driving through town we all agree that we would like the vehicles to go slower, not faster. Slower is what we perceive as safer, and I think that's pretty universal there. Does making the road wider or the pavement wider make vehicles slow down in general or speed up?
I feel like I may be set up with that question.
Well, in my opinion, people drive as fast as they feel they can drive. If they have a nice wide straight road, they're gonna drive faster no matter what it says on the sign. If the road is designed to be a little more challenging, they're gonna drive slower. I think a lot of places we're actually making the road inviting people to drive faster, which is against safety.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with you that a wider road encourages faster driving. There's enough studies out there that support that. And that's why we're trying to keep the actual travel lane to 11 feet so that it does have that constricting feeling. And then having that shoulder of 3 feet of pavement. So it will be wider. There'll be some perceived feeling that you have more space to work. You know, your normal subdivision roads are actually 24 feet of pavement. So the actual travel lane on the Nimble Hill Road, when we're done, will be narrower than your average subdivision.
Okay, moving along, I believe we have Chris Cross with his hand up. Is that you, Chris?
You gotta unmute him.
Okay. Yes, Martha, that's my hand. I have a couple comments on the impact to the property owners immediately abutting the safety lane. When it's a good time for me to have a couple minutes?
This is really about questions more than comments, of course. We'll be able to talk at town meeting about our opinions. Do you have specific questions for Eric, possibly?
There'll be some questions that come out of this, I believe.
Okay.
I'm fine, Chris.
Okay, so my name is Christopher Cross. I think many of you know me. My home's along Nimble Hill Road. I would like to make the public aware of several significant technical and legal aspects to widening Nimble Hill Road that I'm not sure that have been considered by the Safety Committee. Point one is Nimble Hill Road is designated legally as an easement road from colonial times. This means two things. Homeowners along the road retain ownership of the land under the pavement and actually own the land under Nimble Hill Road. The town has the right to maintain paved surfaces, shoulders, etc. as part of the easement. The easement boundary is limited by any fences, stone walls, or known buildings. Because abutters own the land under the pavement, the New Hampshire Department of Transportation confirmed that widening the road must be renegotiated with every abutter, and they have the right to be paid for any extension to the easement. This has also been confirmed by New Hampshire Municipal Association reviews. State Highway Archives in Concord have been looked at also. They validate that there are no clear boundaries. Private land will need to be taken to widen this road. The second point I have is more procedures. One of two New Hampshire laws called RSAs must be followed to move forward, assuming that all 35 abutters agree to allow their land to be used for the safety lane and were properly compensated. The first option is to follow New Hampshire RSA 67440, which requires 4 steps: registered notice to abutters, a vote of the planning board, a vote of the town, and multiple hearings by the selectmen with reconciliation of the record between to the town and abutting landowners. The second option would be to follow RSA 22835, which requires asking the New Hampshire DOT commissioner to reestablish highway boundary lanes. Again, this is a complex set of legal proceedings and abutter agreements controlled by the Secretary of State for New Hampshire. So what that means, and here's the bottom line, it is premature and fiscally imprudent to set aside funds for this safety lane until these issues can be addressed, because it's going to be time consuming. Those are my remarks.
Chris, could I ask exactly who at DOT gave you this opinion?
It's multiple departments in the DTEOT that I have spoken to. And really, it points out that there's been a claim that there is no impact in taking a private land, and I have not seen any data of that, and that conflicts with what I've learned from the agencies that I've talked to.
We'd like to know the specific name so we can confirm this. Do you have Department of Transportation contacts?
Well, I don't think it's, from the standpoint, I've talked to multiple groups on it, but I would think that the safety lane would investigate and find out this from the multiple agencies and legal people about that. This is a matter of history and of the history of easement roads and how they're created in New Hampshire, and there are specific laws. When I was selectman, we accept this road, and that's what we learned. Causey found out about. And from the standpoint, we took over the road based on what we were taught at that time. These are outstanding questions, and that's what makes this part of the master plan or idea in the master plan has been staying in there for so long, because it's really a challenge, because there are a number of issues to address, and this is one of the big ones from a legal standpoint.
Eric, do you have any comment on that?
I guess my only comment is that fee simple right-of-ways are very rare on old roads in New Hampshire. This is very common situation where it is an easement right-of-way, but it does not take away the right of the town to make improvement within that right-of-way. They have every right. And it's not like as if the way it's being described, it would be the same thing as, well, from the center line of the right-of-way is your setback. Well, that's not how the planning board or zoning board would interpret it either. It is from that easement right-of-way that your building setback line is, and that is consistent with allowing the municipality to do whatever they need to do to maintain and improve that roadway in that corridor. That would be saying that you need to get approval to install a new sign. That's just not consistent with anything that we've ever seen from DOT.
Eric, my background is not as a lawyer, and I don't think yours either.
No.
These are legal issues, and they are addressed pretty regularly. And if you refer to the New Hampshire Municipal Association reviews of this, there's a lot of discussion that needs to take place to confirm just what you said.
Okay, we also have a question from Sally Ryder, I believe. Says on the chat, I would like to know more about where the path goes up the hill near the Knox house. I don't see space for the route there. So Eric, that would be by the fire station at the Four Corners.
Yeah, this is Sally. I am part owner of the Dryas Frink Farm. And I have seen on the slide now that it goes off the road and at that point, and it goes down by the school, which I think is terrific, because I couldn't see when I looked at the pictures how it could get between the barn and the telephone poles there. But you've figured that out, and I commend you on that. That's very nice. So that's the end of my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally. Emily Savinelli has a question. Emily?
Yes, Emily Savinelli, 6 Fabian Point. A couple things. One, I wanted to touch on something that I don't know if Jamie Belanger is still on the call, but I do know that the police department has done a tally of the number of cars on Nimble Hill Road that I believe has gone up significantly, the number of cars. So when you're thinking about safety and probability, that's going to make things go up. Secondly, one question I have, we keep saying these are preliminary drawings. My question from a budget standpoint is obviously where are we at with engineering costs for this project and moving forward? I know if we haven't, I know reading the notes at some point there was a discussion about reworking the engineering costs before we applied for the grant. So I'm just curious, if we're going to continue to tweak this drawing and we're talking about moving a crossing potentially, how much more are we looking at to do all that?
The town has spent $27,434 on engineering and surveying to do the work, and that came out of the town's engineering budget. The $27,000 is not part of the total grant of the $620,000. We haven't got the final design and everything from DOT yet, but that's what our cost breakdown is right now.
Right, but in the future, I mean, we were just discussing maybe changing a crosswalk from, unless Mr. Weinrib is, has a contractor, isn't doing this hourly, then I would imagine we would be continuing to pay him.
So Emily,
yes, he's contracted with the town to do work, and I can't see personally from my point of view. I don't see if we have to move a couple of crosswalks or move. I don't see a big jump in the engineering costs that we have right now.
So Emily, in the budget that will be submitted as part of the application request includes engineering for final design, which allows for relocation of crosswalks, and we have factors in there. And really, whether a crosswalk is located in one place or another place, it's the fact that there's a crosswalk there. I think that's really what is your cost. So we've looked at a lot of those items in our preliminary design, and we have also factored in, it's so many linear feet of road that's going to be widened. There's so many linear feet of side path that will be constructed. So that's how we arrived at the estimate, and that's how we go forward on. And no more engineering needs to be completed for the application. The funding doesn't matter whether the crosswalk is at Fox Point or down 100 yards.
Okay, we have Chris Ways with his hand up. Chris?
Hi, Chris Ways, 28 Fox Point Road again. Quick question. When we're moving stop signs backwards and stop lines backwards into some of these side roads, I see we're moving the stop line at Fox Point and Nimble Hill. We're moving it at Nimble Hill and Old Post Road. Is there concerns of line of sight to the main road? I have some concerns coming from Fox Point, turning left onto Nimble Hill Road, headed towards the transfer station with people coming up over the hill. And if that line is further back, I think we don't have good line of sight to Nimble Hill Road. And have those things been taken into consideration as we move stop lines further into side roads?
We do look at sight lines as in our preliminary design, and as we go forward, we recheck all those hypotheses as we go through the final design.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't believe that were you talking Little Bay or Old Post?
Old Post Road and Nimble Hill Road is a concern to me, and then Fox Point Road and Nimble Hill Road is a concern to me.
So on Fox Point and Nimble, we're not changing the location. And Old Post,
It
we're
shows
not.
a change in location. You show change of location here to move a stop backwards, correct?
Which
This
one?
is at Old Post and Nimble Hill.
There's the
Are we moving
existing
that?
stop sign right there.
Okay, it is existing. Okay, and then at Fox Point Road, it looks like it said it was being moved backwards.
The one at Fox Point there's the existing sign.
And that stop line exists right at that corner like that?
We're gonna be adding a stop bar there. There isn't one there, I believe.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And there was another question in the chat about a possible solution for low-cost speeding traffic on Nimble Hill Road. Speed camera or flashing sign that says your speed is blank miles per hour. I believe that's in the plan, Eric.
That is correct. We have one of those right here. And this could move. This is preliminary as an idea, and we've felt that this was in my eyes, and you guys travel the road more than I do, but I do travel it a lot. It's the straight section of road in front of Edna's house. That's where we were thinking of putting that flashing sign to say your speed limit.
Works in Maryland. It gets your attention, and I think it might make the drivers think that perhaps the sign was hooked up to somebody who might be logging what's going on there. I don't know. It certainly gets attention of the drivers. At least, well, it gets my attention. I'm not a speeder, but I'm always interested in seeing how my speedometer is going versus to the signs, and the signs that I've seen are very accurate. And I don't know. It would certainly cost a fraction of what it would cost. But you wouldn't want speed bumps. They always have those too, and those would not be popular. But these signs are quite innocuous. So that was my idea, and I'm glad somebody else has thought of it too. That's great. I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you.
And James Belanger, did you have another question?
Yes, I do. All of these, because we're widening the road and inviting cars to go faster, we have some items that are going to be there, these secondary design items to slow the traffic down. What do people feel about the urban appearance of all of these kinds of things versus the rural feel that the town of Newington wants to preserve? We certainly don't want to look like Boston, all lit up and bumps and lights and flashing things everywhere. That's not Newington, number one. The other question I have is, I guess for the engineer or for whoever hired the engineer, what sort of instructions was the engineer given? Was the engineer given the instruction, hey, we have a very dangerous road, carte blanche, what can we do to fix it? Or did they say, this is our idea to fix this problem that we have, can you put it on paper for us? There's a slightly different mindset of one versus the other. So I'll stop there for now. I probably have some other questions I'd like to ask, but I want to give you the opportunity to answer those first.
Derek Wilson?
Well, we've found that this has been an interactive process with the committee, fire department, police department, So this was not me as an engineer and my firm working in a vacuum. This was something that has evolved through a lot of discussion over a significant amount of time to develop this scenario. Because it is a balancing act between creating the ultimate safety area and cost, as well as aesthetics. This is a rural community, and if you do too much with, you know, roundabouts and other urban calming factors, you're going to lose your rural feel. So I think that this was a result of the committee, the community coming up with a balance.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm still wondering, is the road really unsafe? I still am not 100% convinced of that problem. I agree with having safety, but spending a lot of money when our town budget is really should be reducing how much money we spend. You know, are we solving the right problem at the right time is really a major concern I have with the project going forward. And I'm also worried about risking the urban versus rural feel. I don't want to lose our rural things. I'm also concerned that the price that we are looking at is going to be higher than what we think it is based on several things. I do like where the road is separated from the pedestrians. I think that is truly safe. But to have paint between you and the car and making, you know, threatening the cars to go faster is unsafe. There are some places where I think it's good and other places where I don't think we're meeting our needs. And I think on balance, I think we're not a lot safer than where we were for spending money.
Well, I think there's more than a money issue here. We received the petition from a number of people before we put the committee together. And I speak from the selectmen's perspective. The people were senior citizens, people who were out for walks, mothers with babies in carriages, and kids biking back and forth to school. And we had a number of youngsters who bike back and forth who signed the petition and brought it to our attention. So just taking that into consideration, when the committee got together, we looked at the overall. There is a safety factor here. We're worried about the youth and the people who are walking on the road and taking advantage of the safety path. And I think that has precedent, is more important than a lot of other things. And that's why the selectmen, I think, proceeded under this fashion for the safety of the citizens of the town.
Does the data back it up?
Does the data back what up, sir?
Does the data, the accident reports, the data, how many people got hurt, back up the feelings? I think the feelings are valid. I'm not saying they're not valid. I just ask if the data backs it up.
Well, one accident that I can think of off the top of my head in the last 4 or 5 years is a personal injury accident. I don't know if there were any others. I don't have those statistics with me.
We do have 4 other questions now, so if we can move on. Jack O'Reilly asks, is there a time limit for spending the grant? The warrant article calls for the money to be carried over until December 31, 2024. So we are in hopes that the project will be done by that point. And we have Derek Wilson and Bill Wright. One of you two, I believe, wanted to make a comment or ask a question.
Yeah, thank you, Martha. So Jamie, there's people that feel that it's not safe, and there's a whole lot of people that do feel that it's not safe. There's people that are dodging cars all the time when they're walking or riding their bikes along the streets or the roads of Newington. And there's a lot of them that believe that it's unsafe. And there's been near misses, and there's been, like Ted said, there's been at least one accident where someone was injured. So there are a lot of people, and the surveys support that. So the survey done in 2017 supported a safety lane or bike lane. And we did one in 2020, beginning 2020, where 75% of the people that took the survey agreed that they wanted a safety lane. So there's a lot of support. We talked to a lot of people. We recognize that some people that don't feel that it's safe, and there's people that feel that it's perfectly safe the way it is. So there's a difference of opinions for people, and that's fine. But there's a whole bunch of people that are concerned about their safety when they either walk or ride a bike along. Thank you.
We have two other people, Robert Burns and then Jessica Morgan. Robert?
Yes, hi, thank you. Hey, just a quick comment about the flashing speed limit sign. I don't have the data in front of me, but I have it on a good source that they have a life expectancy of how long they work for. That being that most of the people that speed on our local roads are our local people. They get used to the sign very quickly, and after about 30 or 60 days, the sign is just something that flashes in front of them and has little or no impact on the rate of speed they go. I would also comment that in a residential area, especially when it gets dark at night, a flashing yellow light out in the road can be somewhat annoying depending on whose window or living room it's looking in on. Thank you.
Jessica?
Hi, yeah, sorry, I wasn't really gonna go into this, but in response to Jamie's questions and thoughts, a year and a half ago, my 35-year-old cousin was hit and killed in her neighborhood, and the road was way less busy than Nimble Hill. She was just walking on the side of the road, and the level of distracted driving that occurs now is so much more than it ever was before. I don't care if there's been a lot of accidents or no accidents, but anybody who's walked along Nimble Hill, especially between Old Post and Fox Point, knows that it's dangerous. There's blind spots every time there's a turn or a hill. We, as a family, try to avoid that section if at all possible. But I know Derek was saying that there's been surveys about whether people feel it's dangerous, and it is. To most people that have walked it feel that it's dangerous, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't want anybody in our town to go through what my family went through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Chris Ways?
Hi, Chris Ways, 28 Fox Point Road again. Question about the grant, and I'm not sure, I did ask this question in an email. Is there any stipulations from the state about the grant, such as this lane must be maintained for a certain amount of time, or there are stipulations to the town that if we don't do something, we have to pay the grant money back?
We can absolutely find out that answer and get a response to you, Chris.
Yeah, that would be great to have for town meetings, so that way we know if the state does put stipulation on funding, that could weigh heavy with some people.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands up. I think that's about it.
Would like to thank everybody for participating. It was a very nice exercise, and thank the Safety Committee for being here with us tonight to help answer the questions. And thank you all very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Ted and Martha.